Welcome to our Savvy series. I'm Catherine Magana here with Rachel Ivanovich from Savvy Woman Wealth Management. And today we're going to continue the conversation on retirement and how to avoid some mistakes. So one of the things that comes up or that we look at occasionally is interrupted careers due to caregiving. And so what that looks like, whether it be for children or a family member or a spouse and an aging parent, there are some instances where you obviously need to take some time away, potentially from employment, or need to caregive. And so we were just kind of looking and seeing what's the impact of this. Even for myself, at one point I was helping with my mom. Even though she would help with the kids, I would help her go to some of her doctor's appointments. My father lives close by now, so he helps with all of that now. So I was just kind of thinking, like, personally, some things that I've had to go through. Thankfully, I have a flexible work schedule, so if I take the time off, I can make that up. But just kind of thinking through, even some major illnesses. We've had clients in the past where perhaps a spouse has a major illness such as cancer or something, and looking at what's that impact. We actually had a client that ended up kind of cutting back her hours because she wanted to spend some extra time with her husband. And then she ended up leaving her employer for about 6 months to a year, and then she ended up going back. Financially, she wasn't going to be able to fully retire, but she knew, she only had so much time, and she really wanted to spend that time with her spouse. And thankfully, she was able to go back into her career. It was a short period of time that she was away. But things like that you don't really, plan for, and it's definitely something you do need to have some money allocated. Or
I think it happens more often than we know, not just with a family member and children, but like you said, a spouse that might need care, and the women do typically step into those roles. So I was doing a little bit of research. Okay, well, what if I am behind with my retirement savings and I want to get caught up as a woman? And because clearly we want some solutions here, because we all want to be prepared for retirement and live out our dreams and everything. So I just did a little bit of research, and one of the first steps that I think is important is to actually estimate what your current retirement, what have you saved already? Mm-hmm. What do I have? Where am I starting? And then what are my income needs going to be when I actually do retire? Because they may be different when I retire than when I'm actually working. So I think that's a really good place for women who feel like maybe I'm behind because I took time off to take care of my kids, or I took time off to take care of my kids and my Social Security is not going to be as high. So, what are some proactive things I can do to make sure that I'm ready for retirement and I don't feel like I'm behind?
Yeah. I was actually kind of looking at what some of the impact or cost if you are taking time away or caregiving. It's interesting. It says that caregiver employees on average absorb about $19,000 in unpaid caregiving time. And on average, it's about $20,000 on out-of-pocket expenses. So kind of like looking at financial, like you said, yes, you want to save for retirement, but what about those emergencies? And that's one of the reasons you have emergency funds. I mean, emergency funds are really 3 to 6 months. It's not, meant to last for a longer period of time. But I think it's also kind of looking at the employer you're with and what kind of benefits, and is there a flexible work schedule or and some opportunities, or even these conversations are very hard to have. Sometimes they're more reactive, like, okay, this happened and now what am I going to do, instead of proactive. And so,
I think that's really, really key what you just said, because that was actually the second point that I researched was staying relevant in the employment market as you age, because maybe you're retiring from your career, but maybe you're moving on to something that doesn't have as many responsibilities, or maybe has more flexible hours, but maybe you're staying in the workforce a little bit longer, in light of having to take that time off earlier when your kids were young, or maybe you took time off to take care of a spouse or an aging parent. Yeah,
and that ties into, like you said, what do I need? Because then if you do take that time off, then maybe it means you have to work a little bit longer on the back end. But then, that ties into, a lot of people don't want to retire. I mean, some people want to retire early, but a lot of people don't want to retire fully.
I think
or
a
want
lot
to,
of people have been talking to
Yeah.
lately have been saying, I'm going to work forever.
I know. It's like, okay.
because they love their job.
Yeah.
But I think finding that second career even maybe might keep people more engaged in wanting to work, longer and putting money away. And for those of you who did take time off to take care of kids or maybe scaled back and, weren't making a huge salary for, multiple years, you can work a little bit longer to build up that Social Security benefit.
Yeah. And the thing is, and people are living longer too. So it's just this, if you are continuing to work, making sure, or you need that income later, making sure you have enough to last your whole lifetime.
And writing out an actual retirement strategy. I was reading in preparation for this that only 22% of boomers actually have a written retirement strategy.
Wow.
And I thought that was really interesting. That really struck me because we spend so much time talking to people about their retirement and what they want their retirement to look at like. So maybe it starts with, okay, what do I want my retirement actually to look like? What is the next season going to be?
I also found that it's an estimated 18 to 22% of the U.S. labor force consists of family caregivers. So
that's interesting.
That's kind of a high number. It's a lot higher than I anticipated. And so then that kind of thinks as you ties into planning is, once again, if you may be a caregiver, but then also thinking of, okay, now that we've gone through these circumstances, what about your family? Like, what are you going to leave behind for your kids or family to caregive for you, or are you going to provide?
Are you planning ahead?
Yeah,
for
are
your
you
own
planning
care?
now for your own care?
I know,
because I feel like there's just a little bit of a gap somewhere along the way.
I think so too. Absolutely. The article I was reading says a quarter of older women are currently providing care for their families.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating. That's so many, and many more have been involved in providing care over the course of their lives. Nearly 6 in 10, which is 50% of older women, have provided care for family members or friends in their lifetime, compared with 41% of men.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's planning, but once again, these are the conversations that are really difficult to have. I mean, you don't want to put that out there either. Like, I'm gonna, this is gonna happen to me, but you kind of need to.
What can I proactively do now to ensure that I've saved enough and have planned effectively and intentionally for my retirement? And I think you mentioned catching up savings through employer plans. So there are definitely. I think it was 62% of boomers didn't even know that there was such a thing as a catch-up contribution available with an employee. If you have a 401k, so after age 50, you can contribute even more to your 401k. But there's some other tax incentives available that I think people really need to be mindful of. If let's just say you don't have enough money to put in your 401k, there is something called the Savers Credit. So maybe you're funding an IRA and the government on your tax return actually gives you a matching amount.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
that's a really great credit. And there are other tax incentives available that you can take advantage of with energy if you're doing remodels on your homes. And so just
windows or solar.
Correct.
That, yeah.
So instead of spending the money that you've saved, let's just say instead of paying, or getting a refund of $1,000, you get a refund of $5,000. Save that extra $4,000, and put it into an IRA or some sort of tax advantage accounts because you weren't counting on that money anyway.
So another kind of idea or thing, kind of thinking about was life insurance with long-term care riders or benefits, or even looking at straight long-term care and just kind of looking if there's some care that you need later, nursing or in home, or what is it? Everybody's different. Some people want to be at their home forever. Some people might want to go, get care outside of their home, but it's expensive. So you want to make sure is there ways to offset.
And if
some
you
of those
invest in it
expenses.
early, it's
Maybe not as expensive.
not as expensive. Exactly. So start thinking about it. Even when you don't want to think about it. I mean, clearly in your 40s, you're not thinking, I'm going to need care or long-term care. But what if you had an accident even? That might be something where you might just need 6 weeks of help, and having that policy in place might be very key.
And that ties into, you have long-term disability in place. And so all those extra things that are out there that making sure from overall kind of comprehensive financial plan and retirement plan and, looking at any financial blind spots that you may have.
Yeah, because I mean, the articles that I was reading, they're really fascinating of what women are having to resort to if they don't have these things in place. And 40% of the females surveyed said they used savings to pay for things they needed to care for their family and friends, but 33% took on credit card debt, or they just 27% said they didn't even pay their bills.
Wow.
So I think, planning ahead for such situations through, disability policy or a long-term care policy would definitely leave you in a better financial position at the end.
Yeah. So once again, we think it's important that you kind of look at your financial plan and have these conversations. And yes, they're difficult ones, but I think it's important to at least know what's the game plan.
Yeah. Have a strategy in place for later in life.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that concludes our talk for today, and obviously we're here as a resource. We do have our Retirement by Design workshop coming up. We have one coming up on May 30th at 12:30.
We can help you with your retirement strategy.
Yes, so looking forward to that event, and we're here as a resource. If you have any questions or if you'd like to reach us, you can reach us at 760-692-5700. And until next time, Savvy up. Please stay tuned for important regulatory disclosures.
Savvy Women Wealth Management is an SEC registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry and how we may be able to assist. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. As always, please remember investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Tax considerations presented may not be appropriate for every individual circumstance. A tax professional should be consulted before making any decisions about your tax liability.